We keep seeing this with regeneration funding. We've seen a number of headline slogans, the Levelling Up Fund, the Towns Fund, the High Streets Fund, but underneath very little analysis of what they're actually delivering. And that's a real problem. This is taxpayers' money after all, and the government should be spending it very wisely, and we're not really seeing the results.
To what do we say? Sorry, it's a bit windy on College Green, isn't it? To what do we say to those people who look? I mean, the funds may be misdirected, but at least it's the right parts of the country that are getting some funds.
Look, I mean, everyone thinks. I don't think I've met anyone who doesn't think that we need to have a better and more equal economy across the UK, and that some areas have been left behind. But the key thing is you've got to know what you're spending the money on and what you're trying to get for it. So the government says it wants to see economic development. For most of us, that means actually real jobs, long-term jobs. But it has no measures for measuring that. It's not going to measure the number of jobs. And in some cases, the money's gone to places that didn't bid for it because of the way that was particularly the Towns Fund that was set up. And then there's a wrangling about what it should be spent on. And I'm all for civic pride initiatives. But if you're saying it's about creating economic development, I don't think doing something that just improves a little bit of the town centre necessarily drives that improvement. And we're saying you've got to evaluate this. And that's a boring word, but actually if it's any of us spending our own money, we'll want to know what we're going to get in return for spending that money. And it's just the same when the government's spending taxpayers' money. It's even more important because it's taxpayers.
Well, I'm so glad you made that point, because I just fell into my own trap. I'm forever lambasting people when they talk about government money and saying, actually, there's no such thing. It's taxpayers' money, isn't it? You say sometimes, you suggested, I'm not sure you emphatically said it, but you suggested that perhaps sometimes the money's going to places it doesn't deserve to go to. I was just talking to our Anglo-American guest here, who would recognise the phrase pork barrel politics from American politics, by which I mean sometimes the money goes to where it's needed as a matter of political expediency and not much else. Is that what you're saying?
Well, when we looked at, in 2020, actually, it was a while ago, we looked at the Towns Fund, we were very concerned because within this country we've never really had a big tradition of pork barrel politics. There would be criteria set by an independent civil service, and then people would bid and they would get it. You'd have winners and you'd have losers. Some might feel sorely about that, but you could at least say why people had got the money and why people have failed. They'd get feedback, and there's been very little feedback. And there was the Towns Fund particularly that came up with a list of names, and then ministers sat down in Whitehall and decided, knowing the names of the areas, which areas to give the money to. And some very odd decisions came out of that. And really, I'm very clear, the best place to make decisions about how to improve the economy in an area is at in the local area or in the region. And we shouldn't be deciding it all from Whitehall, almost on a whim. And I've looked in detail at the private papers as well. Very little record of why those decisions were made. So I've had people from all parties and none say to me, well, my area lost out, why? And they're cross about it because they don't really know why. And that transparency is absolutely vital if we're going to have trust in government to spend our money.